My fellow Commander players, we need to talk. The professor recently put out a video saying that Magic the Gathering is in a bubble, and when it pops, players are going to be the ones left holding the bag.
It's you and me who are going to be the ones who are left holding the bag.
He's not wrong about this observation per se. I actually agree with him to some degree, but here's the problem. He didn't tell you the other half of the story. And if you only hear his half of the story, you're going to make a worse financial decision with your cards, not better ones. There are two critical pieces of context that the professor completely left out that fundamentally change the takeaway here. And once you understand them, the whole doom and gloom narrative of the bubble popping kind of falls apart. But before we get into any of that, I need to set the table so that both my and the professor's argument depend on. Everything I'm about to say and everything the professor said operates on one fundamental assumption, and that is the Magic the Gathering remains relevant and well managed. That Wizards of the Coast continues to be good stewards of the product, and that people keep playing and the game just doesn't die. I think it's a reasonable assumption given that the game has been around for 30 years. Especially because Wizards is Hasbro's big cash cow. If the ship starts sinking, Hasbro is going to do everything they can to keep it afloat. But it's important to name that big assumption up front because it kind of underwrites the entirety of what I'm saying, what a lot of people are saying in regards to Magic and the future of Magic. Cool, so now let's talk about what the professor missed. The first thing the professor doesn't address is inflation, and it's a massive miss. Magic cards, both on the shelf and the secondary market, are denominated in US dollars. Whether you're buying cards in the States, in Europe, Japan, wherever, the pricing all falls back to USD. This is because the dollar is the world's reserve currency, meaning it's the baseline that global trade is measured against. And if you don't know what world reserve currency is, I urge you to look it up. Fascinating concept. Now, here's why that matters though. Magic cards are assets, but not in the same exact way that stocks or gold are assets, but in the sense that they hold value and other people are expected to want to use them, play them, collect them in the future. And because Magic cards are dollar-denominated assets, they are not insulated from the effects of inflation. Your $1 at the end of the day just buys less every single year. And that's just not happening at the drive-thru, it's happening in Magic cards too. The reserve list is the clearest example of this. Look at what happened to the reserve list pre-COVID and then post-COVID. The US government went on a massive money printing spree during COVID, and inflation kicked in hard and the reserve list card prices went through the roof, along with tons of other things. But here's the thing. It's not like those cards suddenly became more playable. Today, most Commander players are actively avoiding them because they're too expensive now, not to mention the pretty great substitutes that exist. If anything, demand went down overall, but the prices still went up. Why? Because those cards have guaranteed scarcity. They will never be reprinted, unless Wizards is willing to face a massive lawsuit if they go back on the word of the reserve list. But that's a different story altogether. And the dollars used to price the reserve list cards are continually going to be worth less because the money printer is printing, therefore there's more supply of them overall, and so they're worth less. And this isn't just a reserve list phenomenon. Sure, individually cards spike for specific reasons. For example, elementals are up right now because the new elemental commander is pretty cool to play with, but more so, elementals are seeing a ton of relevancy in standard. Cards rotate in and out every set. That's just normal market movement. We see this all the time. But if you zoom out and look at the overall trend, the baseline price of good staple Magic cards is rising across the board. Magic cards do behave like assets in specific observable ways, particularly how they respond to inflation. And understanding that part helps you make smarter decisions. That's the point I'm trying to make here about inflation. And this leads me into something really important that the video wouldn't be complete without. You have to understand that different cards carry different levels of risk. Starting with reserve list cards. Reserve list cards are the closest thing Magic has to a true inflation hedged asset. The supply is permanently locked because they reprinted them back in the day and they're no longer allowed to reprint them, so you're never going to see more tropical islands come than they printed back in the day. Wizards has committed to never reprinting them, so the only variables are demand and the value of the dollar. That's about as safe as a Magic card can get, financially speaking. But then you go to the next tier of cards, which is like staple cards that aren't on the reserve list. Things like Esper Sentinel, Smothering Tide, Deflecting Swat, etc., etc. These are different bets. Yes, they have strong demand because they go into a ton of decks, but Wizards could reprint any of them in a $40 precon tomorrow if they wanted to, and cut that price in half basically overnight. Your risk here isn't a bubble popping per se. Your risk is a reprint, a ban, or the card getting power crept out of relevance. Now the last category is hype cards riding a temporary wave. The flavor of the month, so to speak. Cards that jump because one new commander came out, people are messing around with a viral deck, decks that come in and out of standard, etc. These are the riskiest cards if you're buying. For example, if you bought Maha just 2 months ago, cheapest card, now it's like $50 because the elemental wave that's going on. If you're buying these at inflated prices, expecting them to hold, yeah, you might get burned. But that's, again, not a bubble problem per se, that's just a bad buy. The point is, the risk to your collection isn't some macroeconomic Magic bubble popping. Really, for 99% of players, it's reprints, it's bans, it's meta shifts. That's really it. Those are the things that actually tank card prices pretty regularly, and those are the things you should actually be thinking about when you're deciding whether or not a card is worth buying at a given price, not if the bubble is going to pop after you buy it. Now let's talk about the second big thing that the professor missed, the way he frames holding the bag, so to speak. He's painting this picture like when the bubble pops, players across the board are going to be left holding worthless cardboard. Shops closing, collections going to zero, apocalypse, etc., etc. And that's just not really how bubbles actually work. Let me walk you through it. Say you bought Esper Sentinel at $10. It climbs to 30, then 45, then $60. And now let's say the bubble pops, so to speak, or in other words, a market correction. And then it goes back to like $35. Are you holding the bag? No. You bought at $10. You're still way up. The card is also a format staple. It's still worth real money because it's really, really usable. The only people who actually get hurt in this supposed example are the ones who bought at the near top. The person that didn't buy at $10, but instead they scooped Esper Sentinel at 55, and then it crashed to 35 2 months later. Yeah, that stings. But that's really such a specific group of people. It's not every Magic player. It's not everyone who owns a collection. It's just that unlucky people who either were trying to flip because they thought it was going to go up and then they could resell it really quickly for an easy flip, or just people who just got unlucky. When the .com bubble burst, Google and Amazon, they dipped and they came back stronger than ever because they're staples, so to speak. The companies that went to zero were the ones that really had no value underneath them. Same logic applies here to cards. If there's a correction, the cards that get crushed will be the ones that were overpriced relative to their actual playability. Staple cards with real sustained demand from actual players are going to hold value and recover. And that is where both points connect. Let's take the worst case version of the Esper Sentinel scenario I mentioned a moment ago. You buy 55, the bubble pops, it drops to 35. That hurts in the short term, no question. And I want to be honest about this, the short term might not even be a few weeks. It could take years for that price to recover where you bought it at. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. But here's the reality, as long as the card remains a staple, and as long as the dollar continues to lose purchasing power, they keep printing money and inflation keeps rising, which historically it always does. And until something fundamentally changes about that, that is the assumption you must operate under. The price is going to turn back up over time. Look, at any major asset crash that didn't result in the thing going to zero, stocks after 2008, real estate after the housing crisis, they all recovered and eventually surpassed their pre-crash highs. Not overnight, but over time. The same principle applies here to Magic staples. If the underlying demand is real and the card isn't getting reprinted into the ground, time is on your side. You just have to be patient and not panic sell at the bottom. If you're looking to sell at all, that is. So here's the bottom line, and this is really what I want you to walk away with this video. The professor is essentially telling you to time the market of Magic cards. Prices are too high, a crash is coming, don't buy now. That's basically the claim. And if you know anything about investing, if you've ever paid attention to any people who are very successful at it, you'll probably hear them say, timing the market is not the thing to do. Don't try it. If you're a player out there who's scared to buy expensive staples, you're looking at the price of Esper or Deflecting Swat, Force of Negation, whatever, because you think we're in a bubble and soon this is going to be way cheaper than what I'm about to buy it at, so I'm just going to wait. Stop trying to time the market. Buy the cards you want to play with, build the decks you want to build. That's all that matters. If I were to be in a position of advice giving, per se, the only real caution I'd give to you is just be thoughtful about what you're paying premium prices for. My own personal thing is if it's over 10 bucks, I'm thinking in my mind, is it a genuine staple? Is it gonna have sustained demand across tons of decks that I might build or other people might build? Is it likely to see a reprint? Or if it is reprinted, you know, we've seen where they reprint a fancy version of a card. So, you know, if the reprint that they make is more expensive than the current cheapest version, probably not gonna see that card slide because that more expensive version is even more out of reach. But if all those things are not true, you're looking at the card and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be a staple, it's gonna be usable, blah, 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 then it's probably a solid buy regardless of where we are in some theoretical bubble cycle. And that's it, that's the whole framework. Don't overextend on the cards you don't believe in long-term. And this is all really assuming too that you're actually price sensitive, so to speak. Like if you're just looking to buy a card because you want to add to your collection, then a lot of these rules don't even apply. You just buy the card. Just don't try to time the market. And understand that inflation is going to keep pushing the baseline of these Magic cards up over time, whether we like it or not. Really the only thing that's going to make Esper Sentinel go down in price, because it's such a format staple, is if they get a reprint. Otherwise, it's gonna keep creeping up. So if you're waiting around to buy an Esper Sentinel, unless you have a crystal ball where you think that Esper is gonna drop in price, you probably should buy it now, if you have the means, obviously. The professor's warning is valid as a general caution against reckless speculation, but it's not a reason to panic about your collection. And it's definitely not a reason to stop buying cards you actually want to play with. The people who get burned in bubbles are speculators looking to flip cards, scalpers, and generally anyone trying to sell their stuff really fast or needing to sell their stuff really fast for one reason or the other. If you're a player buying cards to put in a deck or just to add to your collection, you're gonna be fine. That's the full picture, the full context, the full nuance. Inflation is a massive driver of card prices that almost nobody, in my opinion, in the Magic space talks about enough. The holding the bag framing really ignores the fact that most players are going to be just fine, even if there's a correction, a bursting of the bubble, so to speak. The real risk to your collections aren't those things. The real risk is reprints, bans, and meta shifts. For like 99% of players, that's what's going to tank the card in your collection. If you like this kind of content where it's talking about the real full picture of things, that's what I'm probably gonna make a lot of here. So I appreciate your support if you would give me a like, subscribe, because certainly it's not the type of content that's probably gonna go viral. Nevertheless, let us not be governed by fear, but by wisdom.